It's
Remember
whatever.
everything that you said, and let's talk about it again in the show.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, then we get to really expound on those topics that we were talking about because the one thing about all these topics that we're talking about before the show is they all kind of interconnect once you start thinking, and then it glums onto this, and then that's a symptom of another thing, and we start noticing how it's almost like an octopus, how it's all these tentacles, how they're all touching all of these different topics,
Mm.
and it's almost like somebody has an illness and we're seeing all the symptoms, but we're not looking at the main cause, at what's causing this illness. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll get started. Thank you for those who are joining us. This is what I've been thinking. The panel. I am here with my good friends Herut and Sade. How are you, lovely ladies, doing this? I guess here it's a little balmy Sunday afternoon.
I'm doing pretty well. Over here, it's evening. It's gotten pretty dark out, but I can't complain. Been keeping really, really busy, so that's a good thing.
I'm doing fine. It's an evening in Texas and very cold. Austin is snowing badly today. I've never seen the snow in Austin. I've been here like 3 years ago, and this is my first time seeing snow. So it's cold.
Yeah, I bet. How you doing, Chris?
Perfect timing.
Oh,
Sorry,
that's the guy I want to meet. I want to see today.
but just after I just turned it over, asked everybody how they were doing. You just showed up. How are you doing? I know we just talked a couple hours ago, but how are you doing, brother?
I'm all right. Hi, ladies. How you doing? Marcus, what's good?
Oh, nothing much. Doing digging. Always doing my research. I've been seeing a lot of crazy stories. I know that we're gonna talk mostly today about a lot of the Capitol Hill stuff and some of the election stuff and the stuff going on with Senate. But I just want to kind of bring up a couple of issues that I noticed that are kind of that would be, that we wouldn't necessarily notice that might come down the pipe later on that might become bigger issues because a lot of times these major crises in the world start off as little small molehills that turn in to giant mountains of problems. And so one of the things which I noticed is a couple of the nations around the world are on high alert to be ready for some kind of actual military um, situation going on. One of the countries in particular was China. Xi Jinping himself actually said to his troops,
Me.
be ready for war at any moment. So I don't know what threat that they're worried about, if it's something that's coming from us, coming from another nation, if we're on the side of China to help defend against this threat or anything. I just know that those are some things that I've kind of noticed about. I noticed that in Pakistan, they had an entire blackout over the entire city. I mean, not city, but over the entire country. That whole entire grid went down. And then at the same time, the Vatican went down also.
I would say the
So
Vatican was dark too.
So it's just a bunch of weird things that I want us to keep an eye on, even though I know we have these pressing issues here at home that we have to talk about. But it's just some interesting things that that I've seen kind of going on around the world. What are your thoughts, Ruth?
Well, I don't know what's going on in the world. What's going on like worldwide. I mean, it's easy to look at our stability and what's going on, what happened at the Capitol, and to say like they're worried because we're not only unstable, but we have nuclear weapons, we have all these things, but we can't seem to keep our people under control. So I like as an American, that's what I see. But there are probably like scholars, there are probably like ambassadors who see other things, other issues happening in Asia, happening in these countries. I can only specifically speak on what we've seen here, right? So, like, usually when countries are unstable, they don't tend to be world powers such as us. So it could be that they saw and that they're afraid of, because apparently there's another thing that might happen on January 17th that nobody knows what's going to happen. Like, what have these right-wing organizations been planning, and what's going to happen? Like, we don't know. And we saw, like, apparently, the United States Capitol is like has mountains and mountains of security, mostly by cops who just let these people in. So even if we have the security, and you see these apologists who are also like the police that are supposed to be guarding this area, who says it can't happen again? It might happen.
For inauguration on the 20th, though, I mean, to the extent that we'll see any craziness, if there is, it will be in the street. Most likely it will not take place at the Capitol like it did, because it'll be heavily fortified for that event, right? Because everyone will be there. The president, vice president, all of Congress, etc. They'll be outside, so they won't allow chaos to get at least that close to them. I think we're all looking at the situation in D.C. from Wednesday and scratching our heads. I think everybody sees it. I just think very few are actually willing to explore why the police let them in. I know the base reaction is it's white supremacy or white privilege. Me, I see it a little bit different. Again, they did this happened, and all of a sudden now we're talking about new domestic terrorism laws that are going to be passed. Surely we as the working class, as minorities, just as people at the bottom of the economic ladder, we have the most grievances with this entire system and government. We would be the most likely crew to be in the streets next, as you could see from all of 2020. With this stunt that just happened on Wednesday and whatever new law result from that will have an effect on us, for sure.
Probably more on us than on them. Because when they look for trouble, they look at us. They don't look at people like that.
Well, the scary part is, too, for this being a mainly white thing that happened, at least to most of the people there, look, they damn sure going after them. People are getting arrested, and people are losing jobs as a result of this. So, there was consequences for those people as well. And unfortunately, with a law being passed, there's going to be issues.
You're absolutely right about that. But considering the number of people that just barged in, there were a few people who had their pictures taken, who were seen doing things like that one person who was in Pelosi's office, that other person that was carrying Pelosi's lector. It just feels like, in comparison to how large it was, the arrests were very minimal. And the arrests they did make were very, very public. And them saying, oh, look who we got. We got these people, don't worry. No, you didn't. You got like a handful of them.
Your hand is on it. Just hit the button. Your hand is right on it.
You were talking about arrests, but think about how many arrests they made at Black Lives Matter protests. I think at one protest they made 14,000 arrests. Mm-hmm. At just one protest. Mm-hmm. They should have been making even more arrests at whatever this was, this mess. But they didn't. And they made the arrests they did make very, very public to show that they were doing something, but they weren't really doing anything.
Correct. So that's why I'm on the line that this is all more theater, and there's something that they really wanted to pass underneath this, which is why they opened the gates and allowed people to come in there. I thought it was weird that some of the people who were inside the Capitol were still inside the velvet rope, like it was a guided tour.
Hello.
And I'm like, I'm just saying, if me and my peoples were to run into the Capitol or any government institution, we're not inside a velvet rope, right? We're not taking selfies, posted up. We're there to cause chaos, and we're there to destroy stuff. And it just, to me, a lack of that was just kind of telling, because you're mad, especially people who claim to hate Pelosi and to hate the government. They really didn't do much. They didn't set anything on fire. They didn't break any computers. Pelosi's office was largely left untouched. At the very least, you would think you would pee on her desk, right? bring feces, smear it on the wall, just something. But they didn't do any of that. So I'm just like, and the vast majority of people seem to be on the outside too. Oh yeah.
It was a few thousand people that got into the building. Like it was in the thousands, and they were like in the front of the building as well. Like it wasn't just like a few people. It was a lot of people.
I'm just saying, if I scoop the three of you and I say, yo, we're about to go to DC, we're about to cause some mayhem and havoc, the last thing we're going to do is be in there with our phones like,
yeah,
that's the last thing we're going to do.
But we also, like, we don't have white supremacy backing us, so we know if, like, they'll take our phone info. They could have been doing that. They did that at Black Lives Matter protests, where they checked to see what phones were there, and then they checked to see what, like, where the phones would be after, and they started arresting people in those areas. Like, there's much more that they could be doing. Like seriously. And I wish people remembered. Like, it just feels like we don't, like, our memory, like, we have short-term memory loss for some reason. Like, you don't remember what happened to us during the Black Lives Matter protests, and somehow you think this is enough. And it's just like, I don't know. We got to get better about that, you know?
Well, it's funny that you bring up, like, how many people actually got arrested, because when you actually think about it for the Capitol building, this is the United States Capitol building. This isn't just the Capitol building down the street from you, whichever city you're in. This is the nation's capital. Now, if you think that there was only like if you think there was only like two or three cameras, for instance, in that hallway when that shooting went down, I guarantee you there are a lot more camera views, which they decided not to show you. I guarantee you that there were a lot more cameras all over there so that they can identify people. Now, whether they admit that they use this or not, which I know in California they've been caught using this when they're not supposed to, the facial recognition identification. Now, that software, because even in I believe it was some kind of Capitol Hill testimonial that they proved how once it got to different groups of people, how that it was inaccurate, and if you use that in a court of law, that you can be, convicting people unjustly. And so that is the software which they're unlawfully using a lot of times. But the fact of thinking that even if it's unlawful or not, they still have all of these measures which they're telling us, oh, well, we basically had 2 hallway cameras like you would have in a high school or something. I mean, it's a little ridiculous that, oh, you can only find a couple, maybe 30, 40, 50 people out of the couple thousand that was there. Who knows, 2,000, 10,000? I don't know. What do you? Oh, Chris, you're
muted.
Yeah, sorry. For the white people who are really dangerous, they will go after them, right? Like the Ruby Ridge incident, right? I don't know if you guys remember that from the 90s under Bill Clinton. But when white people are ready to grab their guns and become violent towards the government will sit their asses down for sure. We know the right wing, they love their guns, they love their militias. The fact that I didn't even see an organized militia presence at this event, again, I'm highly skeptical. And when I see the media again in lockstep with the narrative, from Fox to NPR to CBS, CNN, MSNBC, and all of the regular and all of the internet news channels, what have you, when it's all lockstep, I'm super. I have to go the other way. I just have to, because I lived through 9/11. I remember how the media was just all one way. I'm highly skeptical.
I mean, you're absolutely right about, the media kind of controlling the narrative, because let's say they were people who actually had legitimate concerns, and I'm not going to brush it away because everyone's kind of dealing with COVID. There hasn't been a serious a serious effort to create a stimulus that takes care of people. So it's just there's all this going on, and the first thing that they do to like negate anything that these people are saying is calling them terrorists. Like, remember what happened after 9/11 was that we labeled them as terrorists when in reality, like, a lot of people in the Middle East had a lot of resentment towards us and towards European powers because we were going into their countries and stealing their natural resources. And what did we do after 9/11? We went into Iraq and Afghanistan and we started stealing their natural resources. It's just like it's creating this like circular mentality that keeps getting us into trouble, that keeps putting us in places that we shouldn't be in. And in this situation, we should have said, like they should have done with the Black Lives Matter movement, is people are unhappy, and there's going to be a point where they're going to break and unrest is going to start. And it's not going to be whatever clownery that was. It's going to be something that is going to actually challenge, the hegemony, and challenge the actual people in power. I don't see Nancy Pelosi as being brave from having to survive this. I think she caused this, just like every other elite,
Let me ask. I want to ask you kind of a question too. We're talking about the event, but I would like to talk about the reason for this. Are we in agreement?
Hey, Chris, hold on a second. Hey, can everybody mute real quick? Chris sounds like he has an echo whenever I'm talking.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not you, Chris. You go ahead and talk.
All right. So let me ask. I wanted to ask the panel. Do you think this election was the most secure, as they say? Do you think there's no grievance that Trump or his people may have? Again, just because you may think so doesn't mean you agree, right? Do you think so? Or do you agree that it was all on the up and up, that there's no problems with this election?
I understand why they will feel that way. I do. But I think largely there was no problem. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they just feel that way. They did not expect the number of people that will vote to vote, because most of the time, most of the people who voted are immigrants. People and non-voters are the ones who tip the scale in this election, and all because of Trump. The immigration thing is what got people out. Most of immigrants, I know, I'm an immigrant, I live in the immigrant community, and I know what is going on. A lot of people, I know a lot of families who have not voted in like 20 years, but they had to get out and vote this time just because of Trump. So yeah, they I understand why they don't understand. And I lived in Georgia before, and I understand why Georgia is blue, because a lot of people are moving to Georgia. And Texas will probably become a blue state maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. Most certainly it's going to be a blue state, because people are moving from California and a whole different like blue states to this place because it's cheaper here for them. And then where they yeah, so yeah, I see why they will not get it, because they're going to be upset too. Texas is changing, and Texas will change, especially for presidential elections. Yeah.
I mean, I think that this election, like 2016, like 2000, like, I think that it is a farce, and not because of like voter suppression the way Trump is making it seem like, because we didn't choose Biden, I don't think anybody saw that man winning. I honestly thought Trump was going to win, to be honest with you, like, because his base is a lot more excited about him. They're mobilizing better. I think a lot of them just died of COVID, to be honest with you, and that they couldn't vote. But like the other side wasn't really, like, Democrats weren't excited about Biden. They were more like anything but Trump, and some people did get tired of Trump, even his supporters,
Yes.
and they ended up voting for Biden. So it's just like the whole election was a farce. I don't think 2016 was. I don't think the Russians had much to do with 2016 either. I think that was just a narrative that was created by the Clinton campaign, and WikiLeaks leaked some of the emails from the Clinton campaign that started that narrative after Hillary lost. So, I think that the two-party system makes it seem like it makes us invested in elections like this. which, you know, we wouldn't be having this problem if it wasn't for the two-party system. The two-party system created Trump. I mean, the two-party system gave us Biden, who is awful. I don't care what like anyone says. I'm gonna talk shit about Biden because he's awful. He's a racist. He triggers xenophobia in people just like every other fascist president that we've had. So whether or not it was like a true election, like, yeah, things may have been, you know, people may have been on the ground supporting people, getting people to vote for Biden, but in the end, it was a farce of a choice. So
Yeah, most people only voted for Biden to get rid of Trump, and I'm one of them. Because if Trump would just be a normal Republican, probably a lot of people wouldn't go out there and like invest their time to vote for Biden because it's the same thing. But Trump is it's just stupid. The guy, I always say, he was so stupid and just out of control. You know? Yeah, he's so stupid. This and one of the thing is this, this year or this season, if I may rephrase it, it's an opportunity for Republicans to gain traction. That's if they're smart, like leftists. Now, leftists, we don't have a party. We just have to, tag along Democrats. But if Republicans would just be a little bit decent and fight for economic agenda and social agendas, then yes, maybe. But they're not gonna do that. They're just gonna do all this racist stuff. Because sometimes I feel, I do feel them when they talk about economic issues but then they divert and go all the way to this racist stuff, and I just don't get these people again, you know. So I don't know what they're fighting for. So there's a difference between us lefties and the far right. There is like we have different view of things. Sometimes they will come across like this, they agree with you on issues, but then they divert and go to this demagoguery and all this stuff. I don't get them. So I don't know. I don't know.
I
Well,
absolutely agree. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
What I was gonna say is that what I think the whole shuffle game that's going on, or anybody who's ever been to New York, the whole shell game or card, 3 card money. This is what I believe is going on. If they talk really hard and get some statues pulled down and change some names of schools or some banks and things like that, it makes people feel good, but you don't actually have to do anything. And so when it comes to putting through legislation, which is going to actually be effective towards those people's lives in those communities, you don't have the political will to do it. So you do these other things and you scream and rant. Like, for instance, most of these people who are piping into all of this, 25th Amendment and we need to impeach Trump and all that craziness. For one, it costs a lot of money. For two, it's not nearly enough time to even begin any of it. And for three, impeachment is only to yank somebody out of office. He's already gone out of office. So it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to try him with charges, that's something that's different, which that's more than likely, well, he's already up under charges on multiple different counties. So that's something that'll be dealt with on its own. So just have a little bit of patience. I know some people feel like they want to find some way to stick some kind of vengeance to a man that they hate and despise. But in all honesty, if we've been paying attention to history in its totality, you should honestly probably hate and despise most of these presidents the same way you hate and despise Trump, because most of them aren't very much different. The difference is Trump is the guy who walks out with his robe wide open and shows you his nasty, gross glory. That's the only difference. The rest of them, they clean it up, they talk nice in your face, and then they talk down about you, as soon as you walk out of the room. So you have to understand that that's what we have going on in this whole political schism. And what they do is they prop up, a new shiny object every now and then who is going to talk the talk and push for all these symbolic things while we still get nothing. I don't know what do you have to say?
No, you guys all hit. Oh, Shad, Sade, you're on mute.
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Uh, Marcus, I think answering you, I think it's gonna be like that for a long time to come until the party system changes. Something has to change. If nothing changes and we still have the two-party system, then that's what we're gonna be getting for a long time to come. So what we're gonna do, we have the Democrat and the Republican. These people, these people work on the same issues, they have the same agendas. Like you said, with the shining face on one. They both, like Nancy Pelosi voted with Trump, like how many percent? Like 90% of the time, if I'm not too mistaken. And then I don't even know, I to tell you honestly, I'm not expecting anything from Biden. I truly, because I don't want any broken heart. So I'm not expecting anything from the Democrats. I'm just living it true, you know, and just keep on electing locals, working with my local community and moving on. But nothing would fundamentally change. We all know that the prison system is still going to be there. Nothing will change. The police and nothing will change in the uh, policing. Nothing will change because they are invested in this thing. And if we can get money out of politics, the problem is money in politics. We all know this. If the money keeps coming, then they have to serve their masters. What do you want them to do? They sure have to serve their masters. So here we are.
Well,
Are you
I think I was going to say I think there's one change that's going to come. The one change that I think is going to come is we already see it with Georgia flipping. We've seen Kansas flipping. We see Texas, which I think could possibly flip the next election. That happens, there's basically no more real Republican Party. And we basically will have one party rule. And the Democrats are already acting like Republicans anyway. So you see kind of what we're going to get. We're going to get that, what is that, austerity politics on economics with a socially liberal, issues on the other side. And so while everybody gets to be whoever they want to be and express and love and peace and harmony or whatever, it's still going to be poverty and homeless on the other side of it.
Do you guys? Yeah, I was just gonna say. Okay, well, going even further with that, what do you guys think about Apple, Google, and the rest of these big tech companies essentially telling Gab, Parler, the president, the sitting president, whether you like him or not, he still is the sitting president. What do you think about them just across the board blanket ban of him and these apps? What do you guys think about that? You think that bodes well for us in the future, or you think it's just good that they get the right wing out of here?
I don't think it's good, but Trump, like I said, Trump is stupid. The man is just ridiculously stupid. He allows this. He allowed these things to happen, and then he got. I think they've, especially Twitter have worked with Trump pretty well, but he does stupid stuff. I mean, what happened at the Capitol and what he said is just ridiculous. You know, I don't support all this big techs and their infringement on people's right and all that. But then Trump is just another level of a human. I don't know how to put that. He's just horrible. You want to discuss policies, and then he makes it so hard for you to go in as policy without sounding like you're defending Trump. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you really want to defend the policy, but Trump doesn't make it easy. He says stuff that even if you're trying to defend policy, then you come out sounding like you're defending Trump. It's ridiculous. I don't know. The man is just out of control. He's crazy.
But
And I'm not even a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat, and it's very hard to. Uh, I can't
You
stand
know,
the Democrat. When they criticize, that's what I'm saying. When they criticize Trump, I want to give it back to them. But then Trump is not the man that you can even push policy without looking bad, like you trying to push Trump. He makes it difficult. He got to go so that we can really debate, issues.
she
I
said
mean,
he got to go.
whether or not he's there though, it's just like when he was there, people were able to blame everything on him. Like now that Biden's in office, they're not going to talk about those kids who are in cages. They're still going to be in cages. And Biden's already said he's not going to roll back on Trump's immigration policy. He's going to keep it in there until some unknown date. If he ever rolls it back, who knows? But before Twitter banned Trump, they were banning leftists and they were banning progressives. And plus, I'm not even sure how legal that is that they did that, because I remember there was a Supreme Court case recently that forced AOC to unblock a lot of like right wingers, including Candace Owens, because she's a public official. So like the fact that they were able to do this, how constitutional is that? Like, why aren't we talking about how much control these private companies have to do that kind of thing?
you we got to talk about it too, because on one hand it's like we and the right wing is learning this too, right? Because Twitter's a private company, they could do what they want. It's capitalism, you could do what you want. So they're learning a lesson too here as well. But to me, the disingenuous part is that all of these people use Trump, the people who loved him and the people especially who hated him, the media. They used him and rode him to make a shit ton of cash for the last 4.5, 5 years. So now that they want to get rid of him and all of his followers off of these social media platforms is disingenuous. There's a certain, I mean, Marcus, I don't want to get you in trouble, but there's a certain level of pussiness that exists on the left and in Democratic circles. They're really soft about things, right? These are, like I said, these are people who will be screaming revolution and this and that, and we got to take the fight to them. And they all now behind the state banning people, shutting down free speech. Not for nothing, but Trump didn't really incite them. To me, Trump didn't incite violence, right? When the other day, he actually told people, listen to the cops, be nice to the police. They're going to come for people like us, especially if you're a truth teller. If you want to get to the bottom of shit and you start talking about Zionists and all the media control and how they program people to think certain ways, they're going to come for us next. So while people are cheering, yay, Trump is gone, you got to be careful, because once they get the low-lying fruit, they're going to cut your tree down next. So I just want people to be very careful whenever they supporting and cheering and clapping for all this stuff. So again, a lot of these leftists I see, they talk tough, but I can tell none of them never been punched in the face before or ever been under any kind of pressure.
For your information, I don't think the media really want to get rid of Trump or want to stop milking him. They just want to look good. I get these people so much. I feel like I'm bougie when it comes to this media. They're just trying to give a false presentation, like they want to look good in the eye of the public. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they trying to do. But you think that capitalists want to get rid of their money? They make money no matter what. They want their money. They don't care where it comes from, how it comes, and who it's coming from. You know, it doesn't matter. But they still have to look presentable to majority of the people, to the latte sipping motherfuckers and all that. They have
The
to.
brunchers.
Yes, they have to. The brunches, whatever they are, whoever they are, I don't care. They have to look good. They have to give it. Like, yes, we're facing Trump, yes, but in reality, these people want Trump. They milk him. This guy is making them a ton of money. And I'm very sure they just not saying it, but a lot of people are sad Trump is gone. They are. But they're gonna find a way to always bring him up. Just watch, even after he leaves office. They're gonna find a way to always make him the topic of the day because Trump too, he would not shut up. The man craves attention like a toddler. So yeah, it will keep going.
He's not gone though. I do not believe he is gone. I mean, I'm hearing rumors about him possibly starting a news network that rivals Fox News. So that man is not gone. And if anything comes up about Biden that makes him look bad, they're probably just going to bring up Trump again too. So it's just like he's going to be in our consciousness for a while. But like for people who like him and for people who hate him, they're not going to forget him.
Biden has a crackhead for a son. He has another female in his family that's been in DUIs and doing all this other stuff. The media damn sure protected him. And we as black people, right? We see how if any of our kids or our friends or our celebrities do stuff, these same Zionists put us on TV to make us look goofy and crazy as hell. They damn sure protected that crackhead Joe Biden son. And I keep saying it with such harshness because, let's be honest, if that was us, that's how they come at us. That's how they treat us. And I saw how they protected them. So that's why when it comes to the Democrats, their politicians, their media, I have no respect for them, none whatsoever. That's why my attitude is the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So they can talk about Trump. Les Moonves, CEO of CBS, he said it years ago. Trump may be bad for the country, but he's great for our bottom line, right? And again, all these guys protect pedophiles and all this other shit like that. The Gayle Kings and the Oprahs and the rest of them, they pretend to be on the up and up, and Lord knows they are not. So aligning ourselves with them is bad. But we can see that there's too many of the opposition who are okay with censoring people like Trump or people on the right wing. They're okay with that. Marcus, we've seen it with Alex Jones years ago. This shit gonna come back to bite us and our ability to communicate with each other and or organize with each other going forward. Because they're gonna come with the dumb shit for us. It's just a matter of time.
Well, one thing that I'll throw in and say whereas if people haven't gotten to that level of consciousness where they start following to the different, to the different pathways that we're already on, I'll show you one which they can definitely see. Think about the political world. When the Republicans decided to start doing gerrymandering back probably about a good maybe 80, 90 years ago, the Democrats felt like, you know what? Yeah, let them do that because when we get in power, then we'll just gerrymander the hell out of it for us. And so what happened is you had one half gerrymandering their side, the other half gerrymandering theirs, and like a basic war between who can get the most gerrymandered areas. And what happened is the Republicans basically won. And so now you're sitting in this weird situation because of one of these rules that you thought that you could win on, which it shouldn't have been something you should have been doing in the first place. And it's the same thing with all of these new laws that they come up with. Whether it's the not the defense, what is it? The goodness, Chris, you know what I'm talking about.
Which one?
I can't think of what it's called. Patriot Act.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. It's coming. Patriot Act 2.0. Joe Biden coming again.
That's what I'm saying. When they say, "Oh, we're going to do it for this purpose," now that you allow it to be a law, they manipulate it for all these other purposes. And you don't. And most of us, well, I won't say most of us, because I'm pretty sure about my panel here. But some of those people out there, they live right in that moment and don't think about the lasting consequences of it. I mean, I'll give you another one as a veteran. This one hurt my heart when I found out. Veterans and active duty used to not pay taxes. But what happened is because of the depression and the need more money, they decided we will temporarily tax the veterans and the active duty. and then we will repeal that, and then they will not pay taxes at all. Well, once they put that in the law, that never came out of law. So that's the thing with, oh, we're just going to do this for right now, or, this emergency, we have to do this. You got to think about the ramifications of it. And the Democrats are not very bright at thinking about the ramifications and how these things can be used back against them when they start, oh, well, we'll kick Trump off for this. Well, what you're doing is you're allowing a person's interpretation for them to decide single-handedly who they feel should get rid of or not rid of or silenced or whatever. So one person is deciding what the truth is, when in this society we say that we believe in the Bill of Rights, where it's freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of beliefs, freedom of the pursuit of happiness. But if one group or one person is able to tell people what they can or cannot say, how are you allowing them to fulfill their rights through the Constitution?
I mean, I feel like I need to call you out on like the Democrats being dumb, because I think they know what they're doing. Like for example, when Trump increased the military budget, they publicly couldn't support it, but they did support it. They voted for it. So it's just like the Republicans do the dirty work.
More.
Yeah, I mean, the Republicans do the dirty work, and they say the things that Democrats can't say, but Democrats behind closed doors support it. So it's not like they're not being dumb; they're being calculated, because they know what kind of people will vote for them, but they also know what kind of system we are in. So it's like keeping that balance. So keeping your hands clean, getting the people to like you, but in the end, like it's all a wash. It's all a wash.
Good cop, bad cop?
Pretty much, and a lot of the stuff that Trump was doing, Biden's going to do it too, but CNN and MSNBC, they're not going to cover it. They're not.
They'll cover it with a certain spin. You know what I'm saying? They'll season it up, and they'll put some ketchup on it. You know what I'm saying, to make it easier for you to swallow.
And
that's why I'm always saying Trump is stupid, because Biden would do it in a way that they will be able to still cover him up. The platitudes will come with Biden singing the kumbaya and everything. They know how to do that stuff. So it's easier for the public and for the media to cover people like that already. With Trump, it's difficult. He just makes things difficult, and then he gets the public into this crazy section. People go crazy. I don't know. He makes people scared, like immigrant community. Everyone is on their toes, He just make things unnecessarily scary. That's all.
He's doing what he was voted in to do. He was voted in by people who are either racist or who don't really understand what racism is and are able to ignore it. And it's hard. I don't blame them, because their ignorance is not because of them. It's because our education system is crap. Our news networks and programs are essentially propaganda. Like, it's hard for me to feel. It's hard to not feel bad for them. At the same time, I know that they look at someone like me and have certain issues with me because of me being a person of color. But I see them as lost comrades. They are very, very lost. Maybe they won't be found, but I think it was A. Philip Randolph that said that, if there's going to be any kind of socialist, leftist movement, it has to come from people like us, from Black people, because we see the system. We're supposed to be able to see the system for what it is because of our, our vision.
We're at the bottom.
Yeah, we are at the bottom. No matter how much a Black man rises, he could be a millionaire. It doesn't matter because he's got the color of his skin.
But we don't see it. Most of our people, I'm sorry to say, but most of the Black communities are ignorant of politics. They don't know nothing. I mean, it's just disheartening. But the fact is, Most black people don't know. All they know is Democrat and Republican. And they see the Democrat as the good guy and the Republican as the bad guy. And that's it. They don't know the details. They don't know how things work in politics. They really don't know. A lot of people don't. And that's why we're in this mess. And guess who made Biden the president? It's us. Us, our people. We made him the president.
What
We
Herut
did.
just said, what Herut said
We
was on point. Like the media is propaganda, and unfortunately, if you do not seek independent media, you do not try to educate yourself outside of a CNN, MSNBC, NPR, Wikipedia, Google, your information is going to be highly filtered and always going to filter you into the Democratic Party every single time. You reject the what I don't understand is we reject the Republican Party as a whole, as a group. Why don't we reject the Democrats just the same? They largely agree on like 90%, and then they argue in our faces about immigration and abortion, two things that we really don't need to be getting involved in, especially especially the abortion issue. Like, yo, we killing ourselves enough, right, in these streets. We really don't need to be getting involved with largely a white woman issue. I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
I mean, there's a reason why they focus on those issues, though. It's like the issue that, doesn't involve economic, us rising up economically, but it focuses on a lot of, very, very, very religious older Black people who don't agree with it. And like, I think that the our political focus is going to change because young people, like older people, are the ones that mostly come out for Democrats and support the Democrats, no matter what. But the young, like us, the young ones, we're not doing that. I mean, for every, there's only 4 of us on this panel, but there are so many of us that understand that the Democrats aren't our friends. Like, there are so many people who have been victim of the prison industrial complex, who saw their families become victims of it and realize, okay, well, they did their research. They know who started this process to become the way it is. It's Bill Clinton and it's Joe Biden, and we're aware of that. I am one of the reasons why I was surprised that Biden won was his whole comment on if you're not voting for me, you're Black. Like, that should have been it for us. That should have been it. I'm sorry. We need to have higher standards. Come on. We shouldn't be the ones carrying Joe Biden. Like, Black people should not have that burden. He should not have gotten our votes. I really don't think we should. He should have. It's not
But the
fair.
media, like you said, the media, people have been programmed. Just imagine anyone hating on Bernie. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how most Black people were really, really hating on this man. Like, I'm like, you don't even know him. Have you seen his policies? Have you gone through his record? Have you done all this? Why are you, just because somebody told you he's not a Democrat? That's what you need. You really don't need a Democrat to be on your side. It was and most of these people were Blacks, to be honest. It was our own people, and our own people gave the nominations to Biden, and whatever comes out of it is our own fault. We need more education. People really need to be educated about politics. We are not educated in our community. A lot of people don't know about politics. Yeah. They just know two-party system, one good, one bad. That's it.
I mean, I want to share a story about that because I was very involved in Bernie's 2016 campaign. And I was campaigning in my neighborhood, which was predominantly Black. It was the hood. And so many people were like, oh, no, I'm not voting for Bernie. He's racist. And I couldn't argue with them because I couldn't make Bernie look bad. But I could tell them I could tell them what he did, why he is a racist, but it just didn't change their mind. I don't know where in the world they heard that. It was probably some hit story on CNN or something. But it's just how do you get through? We could do what organizers are supposed to do and do community outreach, But when people are so, I don't know, just taken in and just like in the system that is filled with so much propaganda, how do you get to them? How do you educate them when they only listen to what's on TV or what's on the internet?
I don't even, and you know what? And that's a really good question because, this is one, I know everybody's not biblical, but this is one scripture which I always think that's funny, that's very applicable to this. And it says, they're deceived by the pride of thine own heart. And you have a lot of people that just because of this is how it's been, or they get comfortable with certain things. I won't blast certain people, close to me who I know who think like this. But I know a lot of elders who, because a person has made certain gestures in a way to your community, or they did this one thing, you know, they have this like forever loyalty to these people without doing the homework on figuring out what this person has done since, and do they still deserve that same type of loyalty and appreciation. For instance, you take somebody like a Clyburn, for instance, in South Carolina. Clyburn is considered like a civil rights, like, hero, like a legend, like an icon. But if you look at his legislative record, you look at, the water problems they're having in Denmark, South Carolina. You look at the poverty across that whole entire state, and he's been in office all that time. You have to at some point question, what the hell are you doing in Congress if you're not there to help your people? And it's apparent that you're not there helping your people, because they wouldn't be in the state that they're in over your tenure. And you can say, well, it's a whole big house of Congress. You guys slip in pork all the time. And you know how to get the bill in to help your people, but you're not doing it. And the problem with our people is, because they had politicians who have not responded to our communities and have not gave a damn to actually deliver anything, they've accepted that that's okay, that we should not expect them. All we should expect for them to have good rhetoric, and as long as they have good rhetoric and do a couple of symbolic things and sound like they're in our interest, then that's enough. And it's like, our community, I mean, how beat down as a community are you if the only thing you require is for somebody to speak nice to you? I'll let you all respond on that. Any takers?
So I was about to say, somebody go. I want.
I feel like I've been talking a lot. I want to give like you guys a chance to talk.
No, go ahead, Herut. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, fly.
I guess like talking nice isn't necessarily enough, because identity politics also has to like, it is a part of it as well. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Biden picked Kamala, it's all cheap tactics of our capitalist system. Like, they know that, somebody has to be at the bottom. Actually, we know it. Somebody has to be at the bottom. And it's always going to be us. And even when Black people rise up, they'll still like talk shit about the people at the bottom. They'll assume that they're not a part of it, Like all these rich Black men, like getting like all that wealth and then marrying a white woman, like they don't attribute their wealth to luck or to like the things that actually give it to them, They just want to be a part of the people at the top, And it's just like, you have to question like how they feel about their Blackness as well, Like, do you see it as something that's impeding? Like, so many times you see like these Black business people, and they'll talk shit about Black culture. They'll say, oh, pull your pants up, oh, do this, that, and the other. But they won't call out the system. They won't call out the system.
I gotta hit you with this question real quick, because you were already on there, so I don't want you to get to another point, because this is right. This is a question I have for you since you brought that up. In particular, what's going on right now in the media with Kanye West?
Oh my God.
Black brother in his situation. what are your thoughts on that? I mean, he's already the levels of sketchiness to this man. I cannot comprehend, and it seems like I don't know, either he lives for scandals or this dude has a bunch of busted wires inside of him. I mean,
Well,
massively confused in a bunch of ways, apparently.
he's already been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he's already said he doesn't like taking medication for it. So that's one issue, you know. But even before then, like even before you know he was diagnosed with it, and they said that a lot of his issues came from a car accident that he had that caused him brain damage. But like even before then, like how many dark skinned ladies was he dating? Somebody at like if you have a number, please tell me because I don't remember him ever doing it. And then all of a sudden he starts dating Kim Kardashian, who is the white woman who wishes she was black, wish she looked like she was black, but she's not. Um, so like I do feel bad for Kim in the end though because like she couldn't control him. Like he's out wilding. He was talking shit about her and her mom on Twitter. Like, come on. I don't even follow the Kardashians, but this shit just comes up. And I'm just like, I don't want to see anything about these people. These people are the worst. They take black culture and they benefit from it. They make millions of dollars, billions of dollars off of us. You know? I wish they'd go away. And I kind of hope this is the end for Kanye. Like, go to your Montana ranch and stay there, please, and get some help.
I think he really did get worse after his mom's demise. That's when he really got worse. I think his mom's death was really heartbreaking to him.
That's what
But
happens
like you
when you
said,
sell your
I don't
soul to the
even watch the
devil.
Kardashians. I don't know what people see in these people. I'm not, you're not gonna make money off of me. I'm sorry. I don't watch them. I don't even know what they do. I don't know what the show is about. I hear about them. They pop up here and there, and that's it.
This what
I'm
happens
not
when
into all these celebrities and their lifestyles. My husband is which a Democrat, but even him can't stand these people. Any reality TV, he just can't stand it. Like, why are
I
you
mean,
watching somebody's life?
look, this what happens when you mess around with these Edomites. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta be very careful dealing
I'm
with
gonna be
these
honest with
people.
you right now though, because my mom died too, and you don't see me going crazy like this. Like I had my issues, I went to a therapist and I talked it out with them. I didn't put it out on Twitter, you know.
But
Like
you know, Kanye is on different level. The guy is not a regular human being. You a regular, I'm regular, we regular. He not.
he's just like don't put him up like that, you know. Like just because he's famous, like we are just as good as him. Let's
It's
not
not
rise.
as it's. I'm not talking about his famous aspect. Like the guy, he's just like Trump. You know, it's not about celebrity. He's like a decoded Trump. That's what Kanye is. I mean,
Well, that's what happens
he
when you. It happens when you put yourself into those certain circles with these people who run these industries. You know, things happen to you and you don't know. We see it from our angle and we look at it and be like, "Damn, these people are crazy." But you know, behind the stars and the celebrities, etc., there's a whole group of people making sure that they act, move, and look and talk a certain way. And when you see somebody like Kanye, it seems as if he's stepped outside of the programming at times. And then that's whenever we sit and say, because we're untrained, and we say, oh, he looks crazy. So I just, you know, it's something like that. It's kind of like you gotta be careful before we condemn people because we
yeah.
aren't quite sure
But
because
he's stupid. Or again, I don't care what nobody say. It don't money doesn't make you crazy. You crazy, you crazy. I mean, if you can't control your money, then don't have money. That's what I'm saying. If you can't control
No
the
one
money, there's no need. Give it to us. I'm here. I need $1 million. I'll be fine. You should be, as a human being, you should be able to control your money. If you can't control your money and the money is controlling you, then we have a problem. You stupid, you crazy, and you need to be in somewhere with chains on you. That's all.
I mean, I needed to. There was a comment below that I just needed to call out. Nobody said he was crazy because he didn't date dark skinned women. Like that wasn't something I didn't say that. I'm just saying. I was just pointing out something that you like, something big that we tend to see when a black man makes it and he makes a ton of money. Like so many of them pick white partners, you know. And I'm not even talking shit right now. My partner's white too. Like I didn't pick him because of his race, though.
I know what you mean.
I didn't pick him when he was at the top. Like we were both broke.
Broke.
But he crazy. Kanye is crazy. I don't care what nobody said. The man is crazy. He's crazy. And I love him. I love him. But he crazy.
By the way, speaking of his craziness, did y'all know that there's a video where I don't know if I can pull it up or not, but if you haven't seen it, there's a video where Kanye says he sold his soul to the devil. So I don't know.
Devil probably said no.
Yeah, he was like, I know it was a crappy deal. At least
Herut, the devil said no, Herut. The devil said no, we don't want you.
Yeah. Sorry.
The devil's a lie.
I'm sorry, Marcus. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I want to hear what you got to say.
I guess his little horrible freestyle was like, yeah, I sold my soul to the devil. I know it was a crappy deal, but at least I got some toys like a Happy Meal. And so that's right about the time when he started trying to go into his crazy church and do all this other weird stuff. And that was around the time when Caitlyn Jenner was having her transition, and a lot of parts moving in that whole Kardashian wing, you know. I think that was the time when one of them's husband was like passed out at like the Bunny Ranch or something too. They had a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, that whole family is, again, they're so intertwined with the media and the network and the executives. You know, whenever you see them, you have to know that's a planned event, right? They don't go outside without consulting somebody, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna go outside to go to the store. Well, no, wait, we have to coordinate. So I just think that's they live in a different world than us, right? They're not better than us, they're not worse than us, but they just happen to live in a different world. And you know, for me, it's like whatever. I don't pay them too much mind. You know, speaking of like celebrities, you guys watch the Joe Budden podcast at all? Or know anyone who listens to Joe Budden?
Oh, hell no.
Okay, I only brought it up because this week Fauci was on his show.
Wow.
So I just thought it was a little weird that, you know, a guy who runs his show, he's obviously popular in rap circles, but he's not like a Joe Rogan, shall we say, who has that much outreach. But of course, Fauci did about 15 minutes. Fauci did about 15 minutes on the podcast this week. And again, it was like designed to talk to Black people about getting in line for the vaccine. Like, yo, the better look, as Black folks, the best thing we could do is just separate ourselves from all this nonsense. Fuck with each other, and that's it. We don't need to be participating in it because it don't seem like anyone has our interests at heart long term at all.
I mean, it's just another white person trying to use someone who's got some sort of pull with the Black community to get their voice out, you know? I really think we as a community need to be more aware of this and understand that, you know, like parts of our culture that aren't popular will eventually be popular because a white person is going to take it and make money off of it. You know, like I remember Kim came out with cornrows once, you know, and when I was a kid, my mom used to braid me in cornrows. And like boys would say I look like a man, and now they're saying that she looks good in cornrows. Like, I don't know. It's just like it's something that we really need to speak out against and like unite around, because not only is our community disproportionately like poorer than every other race, almost every other race and like ethnic group out there, other people are making money off of our culture, you know, and we need to. This is a conversation I feel like. Maybe people are having, but I haven't heard it. But it's something that really needs, like, we need to, like, really bring that, like, we need to really, you know, buckle down and, like, talk about this and make, like, the Kardashians just really need to go away because They are the ones that are really doing, like, I can say I don't want to see them. I try not to see them. But, like, every other time I'm on Instagram, something about them pops up. Why? Like, I want to be left alone. I don't care about what they do. You know, if
Don't read
anything,
it. I just scroll and move on. I really don't care about those people. I
I wish,
swear to God.
I wish
Anything
I
that
could
comes
do
up, I
that.
don't even know what goes on in their lives, though. I don't. I
No,
just,
they put everything out there, but the point is they're making money off of our culture, and that's something that we really need to call out. I mean, we should really start doing it. Like, we should be boycotting their products. Like,
and who makes it that possible? Who makes it possible? Is it not our people? Exactly. Because I can, a lot of people, when you bring this, they be like, oh, yeah, you are to me. Yeah, it's going to be on. Our people are the one, we are the ones making them rich.
We the ones who keep falling for the okie doke every single
Exactly.
time.
They
We
don't
fall
have
for
white
every
followers. I bet you 90% of her followers are black people. Believe that.
no, I mean, a lot of their followers are black people, but a lot, like, they got a lot of white people follow. They're the reason why white girls are getting cornrows and, like,
Exactly.
braids. So we can't say, oh, not like most of their followers are black. A lot of them are white, and a lot of them take our culture through the Kardashians and say, oh, this looks cute, I'm gonna do it.
yeah.
Like,
I agree with you completely. I do, Herut. I agree with you. But we have to take some of those criticism to our people. Our
yeah,
people are the ones
you're right.
making them have this backbone. They're the
Yeah,
one giving them the backbones and the money to get
yeah,
to
you're
where
right.
they are. You understand what I'm saying? So really, I really don't know about the case. I don't. I don't know about them. I don't watch them. I don't even Google them. I don't even want to know nothing about them because I'm not about that lifestyle. My whole
Mm.
Oh,
lifestyle is,
you know,
community outreach, social justice, and all that. So we are on different platforms as long as it comes to the Kardashian. I got 99 problems. They're
they
not
not
fucking
one.
one of them.
Yeah.
I feel you. Hey, look, real quick, Sade, this is really directed at you more so because I know your family. You probably have family outside of the states, like I do, and you probably use WhatsApp a lot too, right? WhatsApp is changing their terms and conditions. You can look at it online, beginning next month, February 2021. They're going to be sharing everything with Facebook. If you're okay with that, cool. But I just want to say, be very careful with WhatsApp going forward.
God, these people, they make it very difficult to be anywhere.
Yeah.
Correct. So I just wanted to say there's an app like Signal or Telegram you can use who are not connected to either Facebook or those bigger tech companies. I was gonna say that's something you can maybe put your family on too. I'm putting mine on. My family.
Okay.
I come from family immigrants too, so I just want to make that known to people.
Thank
That's
you.
yeah, I hadn't heard about that. Thank you. What was the other app you were talking
Thank you.
about?
It's Signal, Signal, and then the other one is Telegram. They essentially work like like a WhatsApp, but they don't hold all of the information, and they won't be making it. They won't put it on Facebook servers and all that other stuff to build a profile on
You know,
I
the
don't
thing
know.
about I want to leave Facebook so much, but you can't delete like you can't do nothing about Facebook. When you're there, you're there.
you. See, I've never had a Facebook account, so I don't know.
I have a Facebook account and I can't stand that. It's old people. Like it's just crazy. Like people who are really out of touch with politics are on Facebook. Like old people, they
Mm.
really, really the most difficult crowd are Facebook. It's hard to get through them.
Mm.
It's a
I
fact.
believe it.
So I
I
just wanted to
believe
bring
it.
that up. Like the tech companies are about to be on some extra shit going forward, so you got to be very careful and download like DuckDuckGo or something to your phone. That's another browser in addition to Google. If you don't already use it, DuckDuckGo. Um, if you just if you just run a search in Google and then DuckDuckGo and you compare the results, quickly you will see how much Google is filtering all of your information. So I also want to bring that up too. It's we're in this tech takeover now, and it's wild. This is the Build Back Better era. I said it on Marcus's program the other day. Boris Johnson and Joe Biden have the same policy. One is a conservative in England, one is supposedly a liberal in America. Yet it's the same thing. The Biden administration will be following the dictates of the World Economic Forum and all of this called, if you just look at the things that they're into, we're not going to be able to talk to each other much longer on these spaces and be free as we are now. Marcus, you've been quiet, man. What's up?
No, I'm just letting y'all have the floor. I'm taking a lot of thoughts that y'all are having, and I'm thinking things. I'm like, okay, I'll let that go. I'll let them have that one.
Guys,
I'll let this one go.
I think I'm gonna let you guys go. I gotta go, okay? Gotta take care of these kids. They hollering.
All right, Sade, have a good one.
All right.
Starve them. Don't feed them nothing.
See, I have a lot of thoughts on some of these things, and it's just so many different ways to go with it. So, on some things, I think it's better that I just be quiet, because once I start going, Chris, you know me. Once I start going on certain topics, we're gonna start going down certain rabbit holes, and it's just a matter if we have on our big boy and our big girl pants today or not, to see if we're gonna go and take that journey. Because my issue with our community is we are so ready to trust everybody and anybody else and look to everybody and anybody else than our own community. For instance, the best perfect, I guess, simple scenario that I can, or I guess, allegory that I can come up with is if it was an accident on a plane and they tell you to put on your seatbelt first and put on your loved ones first, we're the ones who are going to get up and go and put on everybody else's seatbelt on the plane before we put on our own seatbelts. And we keep getting crashed and jacked up and don't realize why we can't get any better, because we don't take care of our damn selves first. And I'm not saying that we need to have hatred or go against any other groups or whatever, but we got to understand that the other groups, even if it's not hatred, it's definitely indifference, because they're not doing a damn thing or lifting a finger to help our condition. So if they're not gonna do anything, even if they're not against us, they're not really helping us, so they're kind of not for us. And so you got to start building. If we're already on the bottom, and I mean, if you look at the stats, Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans are all like neck and neck and neck and neck on every single stat. And then you start looking at all the other different nationalities and groups, and then there's a big jump. They have a middle area, and then there's certain groups who are all the way sky high at the top, away from everybody else. And people try to say, oh, well, we should just get past this or get past that. For one, I don't know how the number one thing, which the Black community in particular and Native Americans, though some people feel like, oh, well, they got theirs, they got reparations or they got reservations and this and that, they still got ripped off. They and us should be demanding, number one and foremost, some kind of restitution. And for me, that's still not enough. But I want that for us to at least be able, for me to not be giving you a side eye half the time. I'm not going to do anything to you, but it's hard for me to feel equal and feel respected when you basically robbed me and my people for hundreds of years. And it's supposed to be, well, bygones be bygones, even though I'm still benefiting off of you. And even if it's not from jacking our styles and all that, you jack so much of our labor for your ancestors to start every one of our businesses. I mean, every one of these businesses. I mean, how do people think Yale got started, Harvard got started, these banks like the Barclays? You go back through all of these different, Wells Fargo, you go through Morgan Chase, you go through all of these different people. They all made their money off of slave money. And then for these same institutions, to turn around and don't want to even give us loans for money which you basically stole off our backs in the first place, and then for us to have to argue for to even convince people that there should be at least some kind of monetary or land plot reservations. I don't want loans. I don't want these. Well, we'll set up this 10-year plan and you can get it. I don't want none of that shit. You guys took labor. Now, if just like any job that most of us have worked, if they find out, oh, we mispaid you guys and you actually have all these hours that were unpaid, what happens? You get a retroactive check. It's no damn different. And what's happening with our ancestors is if our ancestors were able to be compensated properly, they would have been in a better state to put us at a more even footing. So we're not having to fight from, at a further starting block. I mean, I think of some of the debates I get into with some of these cocky, arrogant white boys on here, and they might critique the way I type them now or grammar or whatever. Just because you might be astute in grammar doesn't mean that you can understand or comprehend things, doesn't mean that you understand history, doesn't mean that you understand a whole lot of how these systems are going on. That just means that you can probably write a pretty good damn poem, which to me, that doesn't really mean much of anything. If you don't understand the history of things and how, just for instance, how this nation itself was built up, this nation, if you want to really go back, let's go back all the way to the rise of European history. We'll go back to the beginning of the Renaissance period. That's when all of these so-called European nations went around, raped, robbed, murdered, and stole from every region throughout North Africa, through the so-called Middle East, which is North Africa, which they only put a little canal in so they can call it something different to play with people's heads and not understand proper history. But they also went over to the Americas at the time and then did the same damn thing over there: rape, rob, and murder. If you actually start looking into the etymology of some of these people's names, whether you call yourself a Jamaican, a Puerto Rican, whichever different one of these names, a Haitian, all these things, you start looking at what these names actually mean. A West Indian, an East Indian. Indian meant savage. They were calling you a savage. They named your whole nation savage. Two whole nations: Eastern savages, Western savages. Puerto Rico, port of riches. That's because they used to rob all the riches off of there. Now, this whole society has been built up on that. And then we still are having these people pick our pockets in every single way possible and still have to argue for a little bit of decency and respect and, a little fairness. And I don't know, just frustrated in the condition that we're still in 2021.
Yeah. So let me ask you, financially, do you think that we should be taking our money and investing into the stock market? Do you think we should be buying land? Do you think we should be doing, well, obviously buying land, yeah. But do you think that we should be taking our money and investing in the stock market?
You mean me?
No, I'm just asking, like both of you. What are your thoughts on that?
I can answer two ways. I'll try to make it quick. Answer two ways. If you're a non-believing secular person, then I would start trying to figure ways to start cutting back, saving, and stockpiling things, because you can look at what we have within our government right now. We have complete morons and idiots running, not only America, the whole damn world right now. Look at Boris Johnson. Look at the idiot down in Brazil. Look at Ping. Look at Putin. We are surrounded by a bunch of idiots who have a whole lot of power and a whole lot of cocky and arrogance. And with over-the-top zealot Zionists for a president and vice president, because a lot of people, if you start looking into Kamala Harris and her background, you'll understand that she's a Zionist also. They're going to let Netanyahu, if it's him, or if it's what is it, Graves, the other guy, if he's in charge, whoever it's going to be,
Benny Gantz.
Gantz, that's his name. They're going to let them wreak havoc in that area, do whatever they want to do. There's going to be more random assassinations. There's going to be more random bombings on stuff because they know the United States is not going to stop that. And what I predict is that is going to put us into some kind of a war because you can only keep doing that crap so long before one of those nations decide to respond. And since they know that they're not going to be able to hit the United States directly, there's only two options in that region to hit, really. Those two options are clear and obvious to people who understand foreign policy. That would be Saudi Arabia or it would be Israel. And that's the thing. You keep running around. It's kind of like that old proverb about the dog who's barking behind the gate at the big dog. And he's barking every day at that gate at that big dog. And then one day he gets down to the end of the gate and it's wide open. Right now, those two countries sit around tons of enemies who the only reason why they haven't done anything to that little dog barking is because the United States protecting them, that big gate. But at one point, that gate's going to open up. And especially if they keep acting so bravado and they keep, being the aggressor, it's only a matter of time. Sorry, go ahead, Herut.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about Chris's question because, that should be the entire discussion about, what reparations should look like. Because I feel like when people look at reparations, it's just a cash check, But I think a part of reparations should be challenging the capitalist system and, getting rid of it. Because in the end, there's always going to be an underclass. And even if they're giving us checks and we're putting it into the stock market, half the people that invest in the stock market don't make money, And I'm not saying don't invest now because we know we're in a capitalist system. You have to keep up somehow, So you have to kind of be a part of that as of right now. So unless we're getting rid of that system, we're going to continue to be the underclass, no matter if they're giving us money or not. Because whether or not they're giving us money, they have more money. So we're always going to have to be doing the jobs that they don't want to do. So it's just it has to be more than money.
Well, see, my point is to get enough money and substance to be able to separate, to be able, figure out, we actually know who most of us are, or some of us are, what we would call it, a great multitude who decide, double middle fingers to this place. Let's find another nation who's perfectly fine with having us in there, who's not going to treat us like crap, who's not going to have their police shooting us down every 28 hours. How about let's just find another place? And then at that point, we're able to pool our resources and be able to bond with another nation and country and be able to work a more mutual thing than trying to fight this big monster of a system that I don't feel we can ever be, or that's ever going to be fair to us.
Well, I mean, the issue with that is, Black people built this country, and there's for us to just leave it, there's no justice in that because there's still the rich people are still going to continue to be rich. Those same rich people made money off of the backs of enslaved African people. It's just for us to just leave, I don't know. It feels unfair. I don't It feels like what the Europeans did. They got their money, and when they,
I'm not gonna and take it away that isn't unfair. But how I see it is, it's one of those things that it will take a while for it to kind of come back and bite them in the ass. True, we would have to lose everything. It's kind of like those old Tyler Perry movies where the man, he's all powerful and has all this money and all that, but the woman helped him build everything. She was, paying his way through college and working double shifts while he was trying to make it and helping him study. And then once he made it, he's like, I don't need you, and then kicks her to the curb. And then he takes everything and leaves her broken naked, basically. But what always happens in those stories? That retribution, that recompense always lands back on their own head. And it's normally double fold. And it's normally, if you walk away, even if you don't believe in religion, just the whole karmic rules that what goes around comes back around. And if you kind of say, you know what, I'm not going to force this. I'm going to let the nature of, I'm going to let, the spirit out there just handle this. And it's going to come back around, because one thing which they don't think about is, say, for instance, if that did happen, let's just pick a random country. Let's say Cuba. Let's say they say, you know what, all Americans, y'all want to get the hell out of there. Black Americans, mixture of, whichever, whatever. Y'all want to come down here and try to work out something? Cool. Come down here. What the United States doesn't think about is the amount of money that would instantly suck right out of the economy. And it also steals a lot of the creativity. I wouldn't say steals, but it removes a lot of the creativity, which a lot of these record companies and TV executives and all that borrow and steal from. If you think about a lot of the music which you see in all the commercials, think about when we were kids. You didn't hear all this hip hop and R&B, beats in all the commercials. You didn't see all these things, and it's because with this society, how it's had us more kind of involved and intertwined, we all engage more. So they're able to say, "Ooh, well, look at this fad, what they're doing over there. Look at that," and then they start just randomly taking it and adding it into what they want to do. And if we're not here, they can't steal that.
But do you think that those people who are making, that music and making those records, I mean, do you really think they want to leave? I mean, they're in a position where they're comfortable, They may experience racism, but they don't like process it as racism, They process it as maybe something interpersonal.
The reason why they yell is because you even take somebody to the level of LeBron James. When LeBron James started making some of those comments about the Chinese government, because of some of the business ties with our government and the Chinese government, he had to stand down. And that's LeBron James. So if you're not under the United States and not under their treaties and embargoes, you're more free to be able to voice your opinion and actually speak out about those issues without the government coming and cracking down on you. And I feel it would be the same in some of those other issues. For instance, I won't even say who it is, but people can look this up. Y'all who are in the know, y'all know what I'm talking about. But there's a certain group of people, very, very small population of people who own a lot of wealth, who basically own almost all of the record companies. And so if you piss off one of those people, they all work together, they'll instantly, boom, you're done. And now all of a sudden, you're not getting the record plays anymore. You're not getting the contract. You're not getting any of this stuff. And because a lot of them work together so intertwined with their lawyers, this is the only way to get through. Now, the YouTube era helped for a lot of artists to circumvent that for a time being, but now they've caught up to it and found ways to capitalize and stop you from making it on your own that way. So if you were able to get outside of this nation with all that wealth, you could start creating your own record companies and business where you're not trapped under these people who are going to only pump albums if you talk about popping mollies and calling women bitches and hoes. There are rappers who can't get signed because they want to do conscious music. They want to talk about history. They might want to talk about religion. They want you out there if you want to talk about doing all this negative stuff, if you want to rape and rob people in your neighborhood, if you want to shoot this person up and you want to go beat up somebody's mama, they want to put all that in the songs.
If you talk about selling drugs, getting with a lot of women, shooting up people, things like that. Those very same Zionists, let's keep it real, because those are the people who run the industry. They give our people bread to talk that nonsense. The moment they start talking something positive or not violent or not sexual in nature, they don't give the money to those artists. So that's why when I hear a lot of our music today, I roll my eyes because I'm like, okay, they only pay because you're talking nonsense and you're peddling that bullshit to the youth, which is why we see certain artists get certain play and why we see other ones pushed to the back or silenced.
I mean, there's still those artists are still out there. I mean, back in the day, there were people like Tupac, and even today we have Kendrick Lamar, who specifically only talks about his story growing up. So it's not like all artists are like that.
No,
and I have to defend the genre because it's just like it's not that simple.
I'm glad you brought up Kendrick Lamar specifically. Kendrick Lamar came out with a certain single, and right after he released that single, he's had a little bit of trouble putting any music out since then. Now, trivia question. I'm pretty sure Chris might know, but do you know what it is? The name of that song?
Which one?
The name of the song, which Kendrick Lamar put out, then all of a sudden he started having trouble putting out music afterwards.
Now, which one is that?
It's called I'm an Israelite.
Oh, yeah.
Put out that song, and then all of a sudden there's an issue. And I was always told, you want to know who run things, find out who you can't criticize.
Oh, we already know. You say anything about the Jimmy Iovine's of the world or the Leo Cohen's of the world? If you start talking about them and the things that you start talking about them, see what happens to you. You don't last very long at all. And which is, since we're on this topic, we also have to be careful. A lot of the black versus white media, the black versus white issues we see in the media are brought to us by these very same people. There's a reason for that. Maybe our enemy isn't the redneck who's flying a Confederate flag in South Carolina. Maybe he just wants to live his life, and he's being manipulated to think a certain way also. There are people who manipulate those people along with manipulate us. It's the same people. We got to be smart enough to see who's doing the manipulation.
Yeah, I've always thought of it like somebody used a great analogy the other day, and they said it's almost like America as a nation. We're like a jar full of ants, and you got your red ants here, you got your fly ants, and you got your black ants, and they're just crawling around perfectly fine right now. Every now and then, those people who are sitting outside, they like to pick up that jar and shake it up and get all the ants riled up at each other. And I mean, that's kind of what it is with a lot of these people who are at the top. They're worried about interest and what we don't realize is in their minds, they're ruling everything like a king. They literally have that kind of level of power. But we look at it and perceive it because of the way they might be a businessman or just a CEO or however, that there's all these kind of wiggle rooms and like guidelines and controls and checks where you have some level of power or control to be able to negotiate, or if there's an issue to come back against them. But what you find, especially when you get into the entertainment industry, is the way those contracts are written, they're so advanced and so complex that it's almost like going to the military. You just sold your name away once you sign those contracts most of the time. And by the time you understand how much and how deep they have control over you, it's already too late. That's the reason why even you see people like what's her name, Taylor Swift, that you'll see them, they'll be out in the media for a moment, then they out of the media and they have this breakdown, and you'll hear them say that I'm crying out for help, but everybody around me is like, yeah, whatever, I'm not listening to you. And they're trying to talk about things that are going on, but nobody wants to hear them. They're like, yeah, just get back on set, hurry up. And then there's people that as soon as they say, well, you know what, I don't agree with, say, this protest or this political statement, they'll have 35 phone calls within 2 minutes telling them, hey, you need to get on here and you need to do this and you need to change this and you need to say this and you need to say that. And it's like, even when you get to those higher levels, we don't see the level of pressure and control that is still on those people because of how controlling the people who control those industries are. I mean, we see it through the money which they shovel in through politics and all that.
I mean, you're right, and I mean it's again a part of the same propaganda that we're just so used to like being stuck in, you know. Um, but at the same time, it's all hustle. It's all hustle to have a little bit more money than everyone else. It's all hustle to like, you know, look a little richer, to have a nice car, to be able to post pictures on Instagram of like you and your new ride or your new house or anything. There's like we're being sold a materialism that we can't necessarily afford. But you know,
Not
but why do we
necessarily
want
can't.
it? Like, I mean, there are a lot of rich black people, not you know, so like they can afford it, but like the rest of us, you know, we're being sold this materialism that I don't know, like I can't say you know I want to be rich like that, but I at least like to be able to pay my bills, and for a lot of people, it's just them paying their bills, you
But
know.
I think the point, I think that maybe that's partially a way to fight back also. If we can retrain our community to have a different mind, to reject materialism and reject, being happy through having worldly possessions, and focus more on relationships, whether it's with a higher power, or whether that's a relationship with just friends, loved ones, and colleagues. To focus more on those things instead of trying to have the newest outfit or the newest phone or some of those things. And if we're able to start to connect more with our community on a more spiritual and a more family type way, we start building those relationships and spend and invest in our time that way. We can take away from spending and giving away to these people who, a lot of them who, for instance, think about Tommy Hilfiger back in the day. He's perfectly fine accepting black people's money for the products, but then you hear how he feels about black people, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of these people completely despise us, have no respect for us, but we're out there running around trying to fulfill ourselves with material things from these people who hate us. I mean, it's kind of
When we really need to
part of
be,
our destructive pattern.
when we really need to be learning how to build a community amongst each other, you know, and you have to let go of some of the things, some of your, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, you have to change your definition of the word success and successful, right? Like success or successfulness doesn't mean like driving Bentleys and Ferraris and buying Birkin bags and all this shit like that. How about raising your kids to be good people? We eating right. We creating our own things, living amongst each other, away and separate from the nonsense. But that's probably a little too advanced for people at this stage.
Sorry, I'm talking on mute. I was like, well, I think that especially with what we saw with that power grid thing going down in Pakistan and the Vatican, what's to say that we don't start running into, even if it's just like an accidental thing, we always got to factor in these kind of, incidents that can happen. I mean, like, remember we had the BP oil spill. We've had like that reactor meltdown scare. We had Fukushima that happened not too long ago. Uh, we also got to like, one thing I know for a fact, Russia has this weapon, a massive EMP bomb. Now, people who aren't familiar with EMP, that's electromagnetic pulse. Um, what it does is it kills all electrical signals in the area. Now, it's said that if they're able to smuggle one in, reassemble it, it can completely, put our grids down for God knows how long. And just think, I mean, you live in New York City, you live in Florida, I live in California. Let power go down in any of our areas for a couple of days straight, and you're going to have chaos in the streets.
Pure chaos.
My God, yeah.
And so I'm saying that's why I'm saying we need to probably start kind of customizing a little down in this time period. I look at that the authoritarianism is only ratcheting up more and more and more. We didn't pay attention to, like I was saying last night in the show, I said we missed a lot of the authoritarianism because we were only looking for censorship. we're looking for things like that. When another big factor of fascism and a lot of authoritarianism is that control and merger between business and government, and we have had that over the past 40 years, almost lockstep. The only difference between actual fascist nation is they usually just take the CEO of whichever company and say, "You're now the czar of this." I mean, we literally get bills from these companies. So, I mean, it's basically the same thing, except they just have a small buffer and lobbyists. And so we've kind of already been transitioning like that over the time period, how most of our legislators don't even read the bills and they admit that they don't read the bills. And so we're kind of been controlled already in a fascist way. The only thing now is just the last step, which is more censorship, more monitoring, more cameras everywhere, facial recognition, like what Chris just brought up about the whole WhatsApp monitoring, more scrutinizing your social media feeds, and I don't know. I mean, it all leads to what people have talked about for a long time, the Great Reset and things like that. That they're pushing for some agendas, and they literally talked about these agendas at forums and all kind of stuff, and we're kind of like, yeah, you guys are just talking about some nonsense, but don't realize that they might have that one speech to talk about what their ideas for the future would be, and then if we actually watch, those things normally mature maybe 5, 10, 15 years later. Just like if you go back into when they were talking about being on the alert for a pandemic a couple of years back. If you watch the clips and everything, they literally word for word, I mean, sound exactly like the reports we're hearing for the COVID pandemic right now. To what the health advisors would be saying, to what people at the hospitals would be saying, to the nurses, to everybody all the way up and down the chain of command, what they would be saying exactly. And for me, that was when I was like, this needs to be a wake-up call for people. This information is right here in our faces, but we've gotten so used to being skeptical about everything. And especially people in California and New York, I feel would be the worst at it. Well, New York probably worse than California, because New Yorkers have this like attitude that, yeah, I'm a New Yorker, I've seen it all. You can't show me nothing. Santa Claus and get shot right in front of them, like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, and walk right over them like they've seen it everything. But and that's that arrogance that sometimes you need to stop and pay attention to what the hell just actually happened in front of you. Maybe it's not just the normal shit you've seen. Maybe this is some other shit.
Yeah, some of us are like that. Look, it's true. Especially living down here in Florida, right? There's a lot of them that come here and their arrogance and their attitude is like on steroids, and it's like, I saw you in New York. You wouldn't have acted like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's true. I always say the worst part of Florida is all the New Yorkers that's here, except for myself.
As soon as they get a chance to run away from the cold, that's where they go.
Oh, hell yeah. There's so many. Look, I remember like back in the day, in my young days, don't let anybody hold it against me, when I was like in the Carolinas, how we would get the girls would be like, oh, Shorty, I'm from New York. They'd be like, oh, going crazy, because we was from New York. Down here in Florida, that don't work because every other person is from New York. I think her roll my eyes too, like, no, that don't work on that. Take this shit elsewhere.
No.
All right. I guess we'll wrap it up. I mean, it was fun little conversation. It's good to kind of talk about some other things outside of politics for a change, Some of it can be kind of frustrating, especially when, you fight so hard for some of these things and you put a lot of blood, sweat, tears, time, long hours into it. I was wondering, the two of you, any thoughts you wanted to end with? Any things you want to tell the audience before we get out of here?
Don't go to brunch. Honestly, things are just gonna be just as bad with Biden. So don't go to brunch. Like, don't be leaving us out here hanging for real. And don't be complicit. Like, that's all I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in addition to not go to brunch, stop listening to the media, especially as Black folks. Stop listening to the Black people on TV because the only thing they seem to tell you about is Black versus white. White people are evil and blah 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 blah. So yeah, stop listening to people on cable news. They don't tell you about economic things. They don't tell you about anything that you could use to improve your life. They just want to tell you be scared. White people are coming for you. So just ignore them because majority of white folks ain't even on it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess what I'll say in closing is our people need to come back to our people. And since I know a lot of our people say that they're people of faith, I'm going to end with something from the Bible. Now, if you guys don't believe me, you can go ahead and look this up. But in the Bible, what it tells us is you should not put somebody from another nation as king above you. Now, some Christians like to look at that as a spiritual nation. Well, do you feel like Biden is a good Christian or spiritual person? Hell no. Do you feel like Trump is? Hell no. So you're in violation right there alone. You should be like, hey, if that's what the country has decided that the choice is going to be, you need to take your hands off of it and let them crash the damn car. Don't be complicit in this idiocy and thinking that, oh, well, I got to choose a lesser two evils. Dumbass, you're still choosing evil. Understand that and keep it in context. That's what we need to understand. And if you really want to get the truth, start pulling aside some of these people who are in independent media, Black people in independent media who do get scrutinized, or as Sarah just said there, or they like to make your notifications drop away. Come to people like that because it's a reason why people who are just average people like you and me and like Chris and Herut and Sade, which was on earlier. It's the reason why people like us, they're scared of us just speaking words. You need to figure out why they're scared of what we talk about instead of trusting the Bole class or the gatekeepers. Quit trusting these people like Charlemagne the God and all these people. I'll watch him literally.
Oh my God.
Dr. Claude Anderson, who's one of the foremost expert on what's going on in Black America and has some of the greatest solutions. And he will sit there and tell the Breakfast Club all of these things. And then right after that, they'll have somebody like Kamala Harris on there. And then all that shit goes right out of their head. So stop paying attention to these people. If it's The View, I don't care which one of these. The Steve Harvey show, he's another one of those two. He's just a damn gatekeeper. He got his money. He's already pulled the rope up, and he is not worried about you climbing up with him. And what we all need to, this is going to be messed up to say, but I'll just be honest. In the Black community in particular, our biggest enemy, honestly, politically, is our parents. They're the ones who do not take the time to research anything, and we have to suffer because of it. And if you look at just like in the Bible, the children of Israel had to suffer because of their parents not keeping up with the covenant.
Yeah, the older generation is fully
suffering for the sins of their parents. And
the older generation of us
sins of our parents.
Marcus, our older generation, I'm sorry, even in my own family, I see it. They stuck on CNN, MSNBC shit. You know, I try to point certain things to them. I don't come down on them too hard, but I'll point out certain little things. And the first thing they can say is, well, Republicans, I'm not even talking about Democrat Republican shit. And that's their base response. So I can just see the programming over the last 40, 50 years has been extremely effective. So I know we do need to take some advice from our elders, but we also do not need to follow them lockstep because they are lost as well.
Hey, well, at this point, I feel that they need to take a back seat and listen up a little bit. Because if you think about what happened with Noah, didn't he kill? I mean, not Noah, but Moses up there on the mount. He killed off most of the older people, and it's because they were so stubborn and set in their ways and didn't want to listen and hearken to the new way and the realities that were going on. And that's playing itself out the same way. Every time I see these older people that keep falling into this stupid trap, and I'll call some of them on it, and then they still sit there, well, what am I supposed to do? Think for your damn self. That's what you need to do. Stop listening to these people. Do your own research. Most of y'all retired anyway. You got plenty of damn time to sit around and look up something. But you're not going to do it. You want something within 5-10 minutes because you're too lazy mentally to do the homework. And that is part of our damn problem.
Correct.
I'll finish with this one last scripture I was thinking about. My people are damaged for lack of knowledge. Damaged for lack of knowledge. Got to start getting some knowledge, people. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous that we're still having to educate our parents when they should be the elders that we should be going to learn. But I feel that a lot of that Willie Lynch and that, you better get to the other side because the white man's coming. I think way too much of that is stuck in them. That slave mentality, that fear to call out the truth and be honest about things is what cripples them from seeing a lot of the light and reality of what's going on. I guess I'll leave it at that before I get too fiery. Go ahead.
Exactly. No, I mean, my parents, they're African, and people in Africa, they see the news, right? But they don't trust it completely because they know that it can't be trusted. They're not telling the full truth. They're telling the truth that benefits them. And that's just an awareness that we don't have here. You can insult Africa all you want, but they have an awareness that we do not have in this country, and that's like, no matter how superior America thinks it is, it really isn't. You may have material, you may have things that, people in Africa and Asia don't have, which is like massive, like an unnecessary amount of wealth, but you don't see the world for what it truly is,
Oh, I noticed interesting in the comment. Variant asked Sarah how she found out about the show, and yes, that is true. I remember the conversation we're having with Sarah outside. Like literally, I have a 7-Eleven that's right across the street from my place, and went across there to go grab a couple of snacks and struck up a good conversation. She had a couple of things that were bothering her at the time. I was like, hey, jotted down some information about like what we talked about on the show. We talked about a couple of spiritual things, and then I was like, just come and check out what we're talking about. I invite everybody. I love to learn from people at the same time as educate if I can. And so yeah, it was great to run into her, and so glad to have her part of the show family.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Good job, Marcus.
All right, well, let's get out of here. I don't want you guys to be like, oh, he's just dragging us too long. Almost went 2 hours today, but I can talk all day long.
It was a good conversation, so I'm not mad.
All right. Well, if you're down to keep on having conversations like this, everybody make sure to look forward to it because we'll let the conversation go as long as you guys want to have the conversation, just like a club in New Orleans. We're going to party till the people are there. So that said, this has been, let's see, what I've been thinking, the panel. I'm going to actually come up with a new name because I want to include Herut's name actually onto the show channel, make it official, that she is, so I asked for you guys to kind of like throw out some ideas for us to come up with. I definitely want to add her name in there, or I might even just say, featuring, our Queen Herut over here. So,
that's tight.
I appreciate that.
you guys all know my buckethead brother over there, Mr. Chris Lawson. my ride or die, with a yin and yang coming at you guys with an unconventional truth. And I'm also got some other things I'm trying to bring to light. I might actually create it today. New channel that I'm going to be starting. I know, another channel. But it will be, if the name is available still, it'll be Hebrew Apologetics. And so it is going to be tackling a lot of religious issues. We're going to be going into scriptures that people normally don't read into. When it says the Bible is written in similitudes and dark sayings and allegories, I'm going to break down some of those. I'm going to break down prophecy in there. History also, and archaeology I'm going to be throwing in. The first part, I'm just going to be doing videos before I get streams and have people back and forth, except for I might possibly have a debate coming up with the Church of Latter-day Saints. I've been talking to some people, so I'm trying to go them into to a debate. I'll try to be gentlemanly as possible, but just know that this is not going to be fair if I do get to debate them. So it will be definitely fun, and hopefully you all tune in for that. But yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Also, I'm going to make sure to keep the videos short. That's a big thing. I noticed that people lose attention when it gets into religion stuff. So I'm going to bam, 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 hit you with the information, hit a lot of caffeine. Make sure you're listening fast because I'm going to be talking much faster. So make sure you tune in for that. And love you all. Thank you all for being here with me. You guys have a
Thanks,
good one.
guys. Appreciate it. Harut, I'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you.